Hello, welcome to the University of Law. This is the first in a brand new range of videos that I'm doing in which I go through and review the Doctor Who The Collection box sets. But in particular, I'm looking at the special features, specifically the special features that are exclusive to these sets. So I might mention some DVD extras if I really enjoyed them, but a lot of that is legacy stuff, which has been around for a long time. I've seen it all already. So really, when I'm watching these box sets, I tend to be watching the new stuff rather than the DVD stuff that I've watched already. I'm glad to have them on there, and long may it continue. But this review is about, if you've got the DVDs, what about these sets is worth the upgrade? So just a little bit of a backstory. This came out, this set, in 2018. So that's 6 years ago at the time of recording. At the start, I wasn't convinced. On my shelf at the time, I did have all my big finishes slotted in between the television stories, which you can't do with a box set because on DVD the television stories are separate. So if you've got a story set between Arc Infinity and Time Flight, between Time Flight and Arc Infinity, you can stop the CDs in the middle. You can't do that with your Season 19 box set. However, I was tempted by the there's less MPEG compression on a Blu-ray. I was tempted by the new effects and some of the stories and the new sound mixes. By the time I gave in and went to buy one, this one had sold out. So this is one of the reprints to second editions. I was completely sold by them because by that point I got Season 19. So, yeah, I'm going to open it up in a second. I'm going to go through the booklet page by page and just sort of talk through the extras on each disc. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. First thing I will mention, a special feature of sorts is the restoration on these sets. So, obviously, the older the material, the trickier a restoration can be, especially in Doctor Who, in terms of none of the original masters exist of the 60s stuff. Certainly, most of the Pertwee era, you're working with copies. Sometimes you're working with black and white copies that have to have colour restored to them, which, again, it will happen on the DVD range, but I think with the Blu-ray range, I love the idea that the DVD range was almost, I think, technology grew as the DVD range continued, because it was a long period of time. The DVDs were released over about 15 years, and so technology did change. And obviously, I know from restoring my own photographs, with practice, you kind of you gather techniques that you maybe wished you'd used earlier, and that's what there was a great range called the Revisitations DVD range towards the end of the Doctor Who DVD series, in which they went back to some of the earlier releases and essentially improved the restoration. Where special features have become more ambitious over the years, they went back and created more ambitious special features. And for me, that was kind of like the manifesto for what this Blu-ray range is. This is the ultimate collection. It was called Doctor Who The Collection. In some ways now, the DVD range kind of feels like a trial run. I know that's not the case, but that was their chance to really work on special features and restoration to a point now where you can do it to the ultimate level now in these collection sets. So what's great, obviously, is bringing all the DVD stuff in. So if you had so many stories that you could budget for 5.1 surround and special effects on DVD, you can now double that because we're releasing them again. So double the number of stories. You're going to have better soundtracks, improved visuals. I'll talk about that as I go through the set. But the biggest thing, obviously the biggest pull of one of these sets, is that it's got all the episodes on. Now, if you've got all the episodes already, why do you want them on Blu-ray? Well, first of all, there's MPEG compression on DVD. So obviously DVD is a much smaller disc, 4.7, maybe 8.5 gig. These discs are much bigger. You can have 100 gig Blu-ray discs. I'm not sure. I suspect these are either 25 or 50. But even if they are 25 and the DVDs were 8.5, you're looking at 3 times the capacity on a disc, which means you've got much less compression. And also, the thing with the DVD is you might get a story which is 6 parts that maybe isn't as commercially successful as a 4-parter. But obviously, you want that 6 episodes to be the best quality, but you've got more episodes there. So if it's not going to be commercially successful, you need to put it on a 1-disc release. But it means there's going to be more compression. Whereas with a season set, you can put those 6 episodes on a standalone disc and maybe split the extras over other discs. So you can really, and that's really benefited some of the later sets, which I'll talk about when I get there. But yeah, the great thing about this is that there's less compression. And as I said, improved technology, obviously. If you, as I say, on a own restoration, you get better as years go on. It doesn't matter how experienced you are, there's always more to learn. And obviously, you can apply that then to the new episode. So let me make it clear. This is old material. I think Doctor Who, I read an article once where it was praised as one of the best ever releases of any archival TV show. You know, Star Trek was great in terms of Next Gen, where they went back and basically re-edited a whole 7 seasons to do it in HD. But what you have to remember is with a lot of these other series that I follow, like Star Wars, Star Trek. A lot of the original film elements exist. With Doctor Who, the material varies wildly, and I think what the article I was reading was saying was to do what they do with the material that they've got is incredible. I mean, to look at the fact that we got the Daleks in colour last year, that was a story where the episodes were junked, and what we have are copies. The fact that those copies were re-edited, coloured, new effects added, new soundtrack added, I think it is incredible the love that goes into these releases, and I don't think we praise that enough, the love that goes into these sets. So these are the best they've ever looked. Obviously, Robot, I felt watching it, just looked like I was watching a machine that was playing the actual tapes that they were recorded on. That's how clear it looked. I honestly, looking at the detail and the colours, I don't think it could be any clearer than it was. And personally, looking at the depth of the image, there was detail in there, like in the fabrics that they were wearing, that I didn't realise that you could get from videotape. So that's the best it's ever looked, and I say that's consistent across all of the releases. In particular, Genesis of the Daleks, I've always found those opening sequences on Skaro outside, I always found very grainy, very washed out, and obviously the original film doesn't exist, so it's a videotape capture of the film, which obviously the machines weren't great back in the 70s that did that, which is why you often find with old TV it's a bit jarring moving between film and videotape. What they've done with those sequences, it's never going to be the original film, but it is most certainly the best those scenes have ever looked, and I was so glad to see that improvement had been made. So that's enough of that. Let's go through the special features. So yeah, I've talked about the restoration side in the episodes, because of course they are special features, the fact that it's been remastered, etc. I won't be reviewing the episodes because I have reviewed the episodes elsewhere on this channel. This is purely a review of this set. So obviously these aren't available anymore as far as I'm aware, but these are the limited edition sets with the booklet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through, these are lovely, I've read these cover to cover. So I'm going to go through disc at a time. So this is disc 1, which of course is Robot, the opening story of season 12. What you find with the collection sets, I feel, is that the 80s sets are the most jam-packed with stuff because they are the most recent sets. So there's more off-air obviously there's no off-air recordings really other than on cassette tape, so sound recordings at this point in history. So really the 80s is where you get fans off-air interviews, that kind of thing. There were more of those kind of breakfast shows where you got that interview. So there's much more material. Obviously more of the original cast crew have survived for the 80s, so therefore there's more extras there. So you do find there's more extras on the 80s sets. But this was the first one. I do feel they hit the ground running, and everything that could have been included, they've included. I haven't looked at these, but there are additional new production information subtitles, so they've been improved from the original DVD releases. We've got all of the original documentaries. Behind the Sofa, I'm sure you've heard of this, is a great series. I won't go into it with every disc, but for every story, virtually, I think not all the 60 stories, but for every story, there is this cast and crew, both from the era and from modern times, sit down, or other eras, I should say, sit down and kind of watch an edited version of the story and react to it, a little bit like Gogglebox. And we have in this one Sadie Miller, Elizabeth Sladen's daughter, watching this with Tom Baker, because she has played the character Sarah Jane on Big Finish. This is the most exciting thing, though. We've got 35 minutes of raw footage recorded during the Robot read-through for a documentary that was ultimately unfinished. I've seen clips of this before, but obviously I said, well, the Blu-ray got a bigger disc, there's more that you could include. I think on DVD you often got condensed highlight reels of this kind of thing, whereas on the Blu-ray, and especially in the 80s, you can kind of get 4 hours of studio footage of just stuff that's kind of, it doesn't need to be compressed because it's on a Blu-ray. We've got location footage, which is wonderful to see. Again, you know, there's not much contemporary behind the scenes stuff, so to watch that is, a lot of it doesn't have sound, but it's still amazing to watch. There's a Blue Peter, and I think that was on the DVD. It's great, you get to see the original title sequences, which have been done scanned in HD from the original film elements, and even some alternative editions as well, and some original BBC One continuity announcements. What's fun about these is that they have the original DVD trailers for the next story, which obviously the DVDs weren't released chronologically, but now you can put them chronologically, so it's a little bit like the modern series where you can see a sort of next time trailer for what's coming next. So disc 2 obviously borrows heavily from the, as I mentioned earlier, the Revisitation set with Ark in Space, where they improved the visuals. Obviously, we've got a new 5.1 surround sound mix. These are incredible. I wouldn't watch them without them now. It changes your experience of the whole story, makes it so much more atmospheric. Then the updated special effects were already from the DVD, but they're really good. They stand up all this time. Interestingly, now we've got the 70-minute edit of Ark in Space, the omnibus version, which I've never seen before. I haven't watched it on this, but if that's something that you watched at the time for nostalgia, that is on there. And we've got the BBC One trailer included, which I think was on the DVD as well. Lovely artwork in here. Right, the Sontaran experiment. So this is probably one of the most exciting discs I found on the set. First of all, we have got, obviously we've got the Behind the Sofa. The Tom Baker years was a VHS I've never seen before, but if that's something that you owned in the 90s, this is the very first time it's ever been available on a digital format. So you can watch that on Blu-ray, which is where you obviously have Tom Baker reflecting and talking about different stories, and you get to watch different clips and episodes. Most excitingly, though, there is a brand new documentary about the making of the Sontaran experiment, which was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed that because, just to be able to watch it behind the scenes, it was one of those stories that didn't get that treatment on the original DVD range. And I think again, it's where this Blu-ray range takes all the achievements, because the DVD range was an incredible achievement in television restoration and presentation, but the Blu-ray kind of just takes it to the next level. It takes it to the final level. I think the DVD range learnt and grew and improved and did an amazing job, and the Blu-ray range is now kind of way of saying, right, let's take everything that we learned, everything that we achieved in the DVD, and just polish it off and finish it. And this is it. This is the ultimate version of Doctor Who on physical media. And I think we see that with, filling in these gaps in documentaries. I know Chris Chapman does a lot of them, says, well, if you get a season like season 22, or there was no location documentaries for that season, so let's do a location one. So it's just filling in those gaps. But yeah, this is probably my favourite disc in terms of bonus features on this set. Genesis of the Daleks, so again, optional 5.1 surround sound. Again, it's so atmospheric, it changes the experience of the story. It takes a great story and makes it even better. Again, I wouldn't be watching without it now. The Omnibus Edition is on disc 6, so if you're nostalgic for that, that is on there. There's some new material, which is kind of like an amateur audio recording of the Doctor Who fan club interviewing key cast and crew during production. On all of these sets, there's a written archive. If you put the Blu-ray into your computer, if you've got a disc drive or you buy a disc drive, you can access loads of material. There's a Blue Peter feature on there, continuity announcements, and of course all the usual ported features from the DVD range. And then we have maybe my second favourite disc on the set, Revenge of the Cybermen, because not only does this come with amazing documentaries from the DVD range, like the Checks, Lies and Videotape, which has been ported over, and obviously the location report that was on the original DVDs, but also it's got the Behind the Sofas. There's an expanded 2018 version of the original documentary, brand new CGI. Again, I won't be watching it without it anymore. It's fantastic, it really lifts the story. It would have been great if we had a 5.1, but you can't have everything. This is older archive material, and just the fact that we're getting this on Blu-ray at all with special features is incredible. And of course, I forgot to mention the photo galleries on these sets are brand new HD scans. It's not all of the photo material that you may have seen on the DVDs, because obviously these are big files, and it's just presenting these photographs in the best quality possible and kind of giving you kind of the best highlights of those. And finally, for this season, we have a bonus disc. They don't seem to do them much anymore. I think often with the longer seasons, there's not kind of room for a bonus disc, so they kind of just split the bonus across the discs. We've got a Tom Baker in Conversation. What I've really found with Matthew Sweet, what I've really found with these collection sets is, as Tom Baker, as the range has continued, and it all started here, I'm learning more and more and more about him and his approach to the character, and just Tom Baker in general. He's really open and really engaging, and I'm loving these conversations that they do. It is a frank and revealing hour interview, as it says in this description here. Now, this was a feature that hasn't been used since, which is called Doctor Who Time Season 12. I really enjoyed it. I was really sad when they didn't carry it on, but it basically goes through looking at kind of news and culture that was happening at the time this season was going out. And it was such great context, especially when the 70s was such an interesting era. So it's a shame. And then, of course, they got the studio clocks on here as well. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this set, and I think it's well worth picking up for those special features. But what do you think? What are your favourite special features from Doctor Who, the collection season 12? Would you advise people to get that on Blu-ray? I know the standard packaging is out now, which is a lot slimmer. However, the booklet isn't as detailed as this. This kind of, it is the reason why I buy the chunky one, because I would prefer a thinner one for the shelf because you can fit more on your shelf, but for the booklet alone I feel it's worth it. But what do you think? Do let me know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. I look forward to speaking to you soon.